The story starts with our female protagonist Charlie trying to run from her cruel reality as her family, the Ryo house, falls into ruin. She was unable to do anything as the castle wall was torn down by the invaders. Her father and brothers were already slain, and the servants inside the castle fared no better. Now Charlie is the only direct descendant left who knew this would happen not long ago. The sole heir of the wolf clan, Rico Ert, died. Rico Ert had been frail since birth and eventually passed away. Written, however, it became clear that someone else's scheme, not illness, was the cause of his death. The culprit was Charlie's father, the head of the Eagle family. Before the wolf clan heir's death, the wolf clan had sent a marriage proposal to the Eagle family. They wished to take the daughter of the Renero family, who possessed the unique healing ability of the three clans, to heal the son of the wolf clan heir. The compensation they offered was fair, so there was no reason for Reno to refuse, but the problem began after that. Charlie's father promised to send a direct descendant from their family. Though he kept the promise, the child he sent was the only mutated child in the clan, while the other children of the clan had healing abilities. Charlie's half-sister Shell could steal another's life force. Charlie's father sent her as Rico Eckhart's bride to drain his life force and eliminate the heir of the wolf clan. Eventually, the wolf clan lost their heir, but what Charlie's father did not expect was that the entire wolf clan would lose their senses. The wolves, who had lost their reason, moved with only one desire: revenge for the loss of their heir. Fast and mercilessly, they came to the Ryo family, and so now Charlie tries to run to safety, hoping not to be caught. She eventually hides under her bed, knowing her room is in the most remote place of the mansion. At this moment, she feels glad to be the disgrace of the family. This place is hard to find, a place where even maids who have worked long in this man should get lost. Charlie tearfully shudders in fear as she hopes to live with tears in her eyes. She recalls how she is the family's disgrace. Due to her hair, she is treated as if she does not exist. Living locked up in the room, she dreams of leaving the place and flying in the high skies. Her attention focused on the smell of smoke coming in. She felt it was hard to breathe and realized the enemies must have set the mansion on fire. Unable to bear it any longer, Charlie's human form breaks down and she flaps open her wings, but she knew even the healing ability that the bird clan boasts about is useless in a situation like this. It is because they cannot heal themselves, but she knew she could not go outside and get caught, and so trapped in the flames. Charlie inhaled the thick smoke and closed her eyes. At that time, she was only 12 years old, the same age as the heir of the wolf clan, Rico, who died a week ago. When Charlie reopened her eyes, she found a maid beside her, recognizing her as Adele. Charlie wonders if this is the afterlife. It is, since Adele died 2 years ago after being framed for leaking the secrets of the Reno family and executed for being Charlie's personal maid. Charlie is bewildered to see her and wonders what is going on. Fidel reveals how she has an appointment with Master today. However, she turns worried as she sees Charlie crying big fat tears. Charlie immediately hugs the woman, confessing how much she misses her, still thinking it is the afterlife. Charlie is glad to meet Adele. She is sure if this were reality, she would probably be scolded by Madame Bellin for acting so shamelessly, but now that there is no one here to scold her, she wonders why she should not act that way. However, her doubts are soon clear as Madame Bellin makes her way in, fussing about the noise. She scolds Charlie for getting late to have lunch with Master today. Charlie is confused and remains silent. She remembers how she has not been invited to lunch since she was 10 and demands to be let down. She stares at herself in the mirror and quivers overwhelmingly. She asks Adele how old she is. Adele reveals how her birthday was yesterday, so she is exactly 7 years old. Hearing this, Charlie turns stunned and realizes she has traveled back in time before her death. The scene shifts to the Reno family having dinner. The atmosphere seemed almost suffocating to Charlie, making her realize she was back in time. She feels sad having to endure all this again as she sees her father scold Shul for bad etiquette. Charlie's attention turns to her. Shul Ryo is known to be the family's anomaly who will one day gain the ability to drain others' life force, and the one who will kill the heir to Ert. For now, though, she is just the youngest of the Ryo family. Charlie realizes how her father has not changed and is still upholding etiquette. As always, the direct descendant of the noble bird clan were raised under strict education from Lady Bellin from a young age. One of those teachings is table manners. Therefore, the etiquette is drilled into Charlie's rigorous Spartan-like education. Like Shil, Charlie was in a lot of trouble before her attention soon diverted as her father spoke up commenting that she was eating with such grace today. This sudden remark makes Charlie choke on her food. She apologizes, but to her surprise her father lets it slide, but that was not the case with Madame Bellin, who gave the glare to Charlie up until yesterday. Charlie's father treated her like she was invisible. The moment he turned cold was right after she started growing red hair after shedding her fur. That is because red fur and feathers are a cursed symbol among all beasts. As a result, her father locked her in her room, and the servants ignored her. Therefore, she is certain that this time too she will be abandoned. She will be completely erased from the Riro family. Just like in her previous life, she wonders if she will die like a dog again. She is determined not to go back to that past. Her ears perk up as her father reveals how the head of the wolf clan will be visiting soon. When Charlie asked why he was visiting with the most innocent look possible, her father turned quiet. He says he is not entirely sure, but it seems like there is something important he wants to relay. Charlie could tell her father does not know yet that Kendrick Ahart is coming to propose a political marriage. This makes her contemplate the possibility of escaping Riro. Charlie knows she needs to outsmart the plan. She first begins to reorganize her thoughts and recall her previous life events. In her previous life, the head of the Ert family visited the estate and sent the marriage proposal. It then took 1 month for she will to go to the Duke's residence. Charlie thinks her father must have been planning to kill Rico for a long time. As a mutant, she will's ability to drill life must have manifested earlier. She wonders if she should ask her sister not to marry, but she is sure her father would have sent someone regardless of shill it is because he received something quite good in exchange for the political marriage. The Hampton River. It is a small river between the territories of the Bird Clan and the Wolf Clan. Though it is smaller, its location provides plenty of food and many other advantages. The two clans have been constantly at odds over this river. Therefore, Charlie is sure the Bird Clan will not refuse this precious offer, and the Wolf Clan will proceed with the political marriage to save their heir. Charlie just needs to change one part of her father's plan. Instead of sending Shul, she will go to the Duke's residence, marry Rico, and heal him. If that happens, the Wolf Clan will not lose their honor, and there will be no invasion of Riro. She plans to ask the head of the Wolf Clan for a favor, at least until she becomes an adult. She wants protection, even if she finishes shedding her fur at 10 years old and grows cursed feathers. The wolves will not be able to cast her out until she becomes an adult. It is because they need her to heal Rico. After becoming an adult, Charlie can divorce him and live moderately in a quiet countryside village. Charlie is confident she can cure Rico's illness as she possesses the strong EST ability in her family. Plus, she does not want to be trapped in a room where no one comes. Now she only has to wait for tomorrow when the head of the Wolf Clan visits the estate in person, but her plans are spoiled by Adele as she denies Charlie leaving her room. Adele strictly mentions how the head of the Ert family is here and she should not run into him. Despite her pleas, Adele refuses to let Charlie leave. Charlie knew how stubborn Adele was, and she knew she had no choice but to go with plan B. She quickly grabs her stomach and FS hunger. Charlie knows that Adele is aware of how Madame Bellin neglects to feed her under the pretext of management. As expected, Adele gives in and promises to bring her some peace while she stays quietly in her room. As soon as Adele leaves the room, Charlie gets into action. She failed to go out through the room, but there were still ways to meet him. Her second method is shapeshifting. Shapeshifted form of communication is only possible among the same clan. Therefore, to prepare for the possibility that they cannot communicate, Charlie needs insurance. She quickly writes up a note and opens her window to see that the head of the Wolf Clan has not left yet. Relieved, she decides to go out through the window and meet him. Generally, shapeshifting is learned after the age of 10, but Charlie has returned to the past. She successfully completes the beast transformation. Though she is a bit small right now, she was aware that trying beast transformation was half the risk. People usually learn to use their abilities after turning 10. Fortunately, Charlie remembered the things from her previous life that helped her succeed. Other than having trouble swinging her wig, she does not seem to have any issues. She soon saw Kendrick Ert leave the state before she can fly out. Adele returns to the room before Charlie can leave unnoticed. He spots her and gasps in shock. Charlie internally apologizes to her and flaps her wings as fast as she can to leave. Now all she must do is meet the Wolf Clan leader. She flies fast towards Kendrick but soon realizes that she does not know how to stop. She tries, but ends up in the hands of the wolf. Lord Kendrick recognizes the mold feathers of Reno's family. He asks if she is playing alone in the garden. He is impressed that someone can change into a beast at such an early age. He places her on the ground and begins to leave. Charlie quickly makes her way to his shoulder, flapping her wings as a signal that he should not go. Kendrick notices the note between her beak and reads it. She makes her objective clear that she wants him to take her to Earth. Kendrick begins to hesitate and stares at her. This confuses Charlie, and she decides to prove her power to him. She injured his fingers slightly, making it bleed. She then uses her healing powers to cure it immediately. Kendrick is expectedly shocked, but before he can say something, Reno's guards approach. Charlie wonders if it has been found that she is missing. Already before she can do something, Kendrick hides her and agrees with her plan to take her with him. He successfully brings her to his carriage in his pocket, but Kendrick's big and cozy pocket reminds Charlie of the dark place of that day, the smoke rising from all directions, the thick smell of blood, even the wolves prowling around, searching for her. She could not breathe, and it seemed like she was back in that firestorm, scared and suffocated. Fortunately, she was soon inside the carriage. As the carriage begins to move, Charlie wonders if this man is going to hurt. She thinks he will most likely not hurt her since she needs to treat Rico, but her instincts are screaming at her to run away from him right now. He's also the one who wiped out her family in her past life, making her feel scared. As they leave the Reno estate and come to a distance, Kendrick suggests having a chat. He tells her to feel free to transform, as it is safe now. On the other hand, Charlie has wanted to transform for a while now, but she can undo it. Fortunately, Kendrick understands her gestures and comments on how troublesome this is. He suggests heading to the mansion first. He also promises to take her back to her home if she changes her mind, but when she furiously refuses to go back, he smiles. Charlie then wonders how long it will take to get to Earth from here. She has never been there, but it is said Earth and Reno are close to each other. One of the main reasons for conflict between the tribes of birds and wolves was the frequent territorial disputes. The point is, Charlie thinks it is not her concern for now. She should focus on getting away from Riro. She is finally leaving the Reno family behind. They soon arrived at Kendrick's estate. Charlie gasps in astonishment at the enormous estate, but the excitement does not last long as a wolf comes growling towards her. Charlie could sense something was off about it. It was breathing heavily and its eyes looked fierce, as if it had lost its mind. As she thinks about it, Charlie remembers reading about this in her book once. A flower whose aroma has the power to drive animals insane. Only their natural instincts remain unaffected. Charlie is left wondering if the wolf would have detected the scent of that flower. If that is the case, she knew this was bad news. She begins to tremble and fear, which Kendrick notices. Before she can flee, Kendrick addresses the wolf as Dagon, telling him that he is being rude. Charlie is surprised to realize that Kendrick knew the wolf all along. The wolf soon backs down and transforms into a human. Upon asking, Kendrick reveals how she picked her up in Reno. Charlie kisses. Even the Wolfland did not expect Kendrick to bring a Bird Clan member back so quickly. Kendrick hands Charlie over to the shocked butler, telling him to take care of her as she does not know how to protect herself. However, the butler awkwardly hands Charlie to a few maids, saying that he wants to talk to Master. The butler rushed towards Kendrick and they settled down in his study. He asks if the baby bird is the daughter of the Wren clan leader. When Kendrick confirms this, the butler interrogates if he used force to bring her here. He suggests returning her immediately, but gets interrupted as Kendrick shows him a note written by Charlie. This makes the butler realize that Kendrick brought the baby bird to Earth at her request. Kendrick suggests talking to Charlie once her power wears off. Until then, she must be treated well, so she does not want to leave. He orders the butler to report on Charlie's condition every hour. The butler silently leaves while Kendrick begins to ponder. Reno's little bird had stronger abilities than he expected, and even in that little instant of healing, he could feel that child could be able to heal that kid too. He plans to take his time to transform Charlie back into a human. Once she is back, they will hear her why she wants to follow him here, treat her to some good food, and then make her his daughter-in-law. On the other hand, the butler politely approaches Charlie, introducing himself as Ethan. While he leads her to his role, he asks if his master did not bring her here by force, but Charlie knew if anything. She begged Kendrick to take her along. She shakes her head trying to assure the butler it is not true. This relieves Ethan as he was worried Kendrick might have used force again. This makes Charlie recall how the Kendrick she knew in her past life was terrifying. She cannot imagine what he was like as a child. She thinks he may be arrogant like the other noble kids his age. As they arrive at Charlie's room, she is mesmerized the luxurious and comfortable furniture as Ethan places Charlie on the bed. In awkward silence ensues. They all stare at each other, realizing the bed is way too big for her. Charlie is sure she is going to suffocate under the blanket. Ethan orders the maid to change the blanket so Charlie can sleep tonight. Ethan then turns to Charlie asking if there is anything else that is making her uncomfortable. This makes Charlie remember how she left before she even had a chance to eat the cookies Adele brought for her. To her relief, the butler understands her gestures and orders for a meal to be prepared right away. After a meal, Charlie is given a bath thanks to the Wolf Clan staff. She has experienced all the luxury she has never had in her life. She is contemplating going over her plan again now that she has some free time. First, Charlie succeeded in making it to the Wolf Mansion as planned. Now she must marry Rico. This way she will not be thrown out before she comes of age. The only issue is the nature of the Wolf Clan. It is because the wolves only have one mate for life, therefore once they get married it is irreversible. And they do not want to back out. However, Charlie does not plan to marry the heir of the family and be with him throughout her life. If you are married young without your consent, you are given a chance to divorce once you come of age. And since this is a contract marriage for mutual benefit, getting a divorce later will not be a problem. Charlie thinks this arranged marriage is probably good news for the Wolf Clan too. After all, they need the heir to recover from his illness as soon as possible. Will happen amidst her worries. Charlie dozes off. When she wakes up, she gets scared by the wolf toy right in her face. She looks around and realizes Kendrick has left. She finds a note on the table informing her how Kendrick will be back after finding the record. Charlie suddenly senses a presence by the window. She gasps as she sees a real wolf, but her anxiousness only grew as more wolves began to approach the window, and that is how she ended up being chased by wolves. Charlie does not stop even when the maids ask her to. She flies and flies desperately to get away. On the other hand, Rico sits outside the mansion getting some fresh air. He hears the commotion inside and decides to head back before the butler starts looking for him, but he leaves. A bird bumps hard into him. At that moment, Charlie transforms back while Rico is surprised to see her. Charlie asks if he is okay. The moment their eyes met, Charlie knew instinctively the ash-gray hair symbolizes the Grey Wolf family, and those deep blue eyes are like an ocean. The boy is the heir of the family. In her past life, this boy died because of her father. Just looking at him, Charlie could see he was the spitting image of Kendrick. Charlie apologizes for sitting on the boy, saying she did not think the transformation would wear off. Right then, she could tell how flustered Rico was. She would be too if a strange girl suddenly popped out of thin air. Charlie notices how he is hurt and uses her powers to heal him immediately. Rico is astonished as the wound on his palm heals in the blink of an eye before she can reveal who she is. The butler and the maids approach the two. They are surprised to see the girl and ask if she is the little bird. Charlie nervously nods in agreement. The scene shifts to Charlie in the study with Kendrick. She introduces herself as Charlie Riro. She reveals how on the day Kendrick came to her mansion, she secretly overheard him talking with her father. He mentioned his family was looking for a marriage partner for Rico. That is why she asked to come here, because she thought she could be helpful. This was all a made-up lie, but she does not want to reveal how she knows this from her past life. Shirley confidently says she can heal Rico. In exchange, she asks to marry Rico. Kendrick remains silent for a moment and then asks Charlie what she wants in return for healing Rico. This causes Charlie to remain dumbfounded. Kendrick's only son Rico's condition worsened day by day. While it was known to the public that he contracted an unnamed disease, Kendrick and a few of his close associates knew the truth. It was the curse of Damel. The Kurzland Damel had an ancient curse placed upon the territory and was a place where one could lose their life if entered carelessly. That is why the Wolf Clan strictly prohibited and controlled access to Damel. However, Rico had the curse of the Damelland. Without even going near it, black spots that looked like ancient patterns appeared and disappeared all over his body. Seizures became more frequent, sometimes even a fever or an inability to breathe. Find a way to deal with the curse, because this was the first time someone had the curse without stepping onto Damelland. The doctors had suggested Kendrick send his Send somewhere for treatment since this is currently incurable, and they need to further research this. Kendrick would have sent Rico off if he could, but Rico is the only heir to the Wolf family. Moreover, Rico is the only direct heir who strongly inherited the Wolf clan's abilities. If any of the clans were hostile towards the whole family, they would surely try to harm Rico as he left for treatment. In the end, Kendrick produced the idea to negotiate with the rival Reno family if Art's ability was the strongest power of any clan. Reno's ability was exactly the opposite, healing. It was said that the children of Reno with outstanding abilities could cure any disease. On top of that, this healing ability was said to have originated from a certain ancient clan that had already disappeared. Kendrick thinks both the curse of Daml and the healing ability of the Bird clan root in ancient times. The Bird clan might be the only thing able to cure Rico. Apart from that, he believes Charlie is an incredibly special child. She could have used her ability even before her first molting. There is almost no uncontrolled leakage of her ability, and she probably has one of the strongest abilities even within Reno. That is why Kendrick is curious if Charlie could really heal Rico without any ulterior motives. She must be a spy for Riro. The head of Riro is more than capable of such a thing. Charlie falters and pleads with Kendrick not to abandon her, even if she is hideous. This takes him back resolutely. Charlie states that in exchange for healing Rico, Kendrick must protect her as a part of the Wolf clan. She asks him to swear upon the name of his clan to protect her. Kendrick is surprised by this. He asks if this means Riro abandoned her or neglected her. Charlie denies, but it is something that will happen 5 years in the future. But to make Kendrick understand what she says, she must explain that she came back to the past. And to do that, there is no way Kendrick would accept it so easily. She tells Kendrick that she cannot give him the exact reason, but that is all he needs to promise her. Kendrick takes a moment to ponder and sigh. He walks towards Charlie and promises to protect her until she comes of age. Tears fill Charlie's eyes, and she asks if he is swearing upon the name of Ert. Kendrick kisses her hand and swears. He then picks her up, unexpectedly surprising Charlie. Kendrick suggests starting treatment for tomorrow as there is no need to rush. He then excuses himself, saying they will be getting busy with their wedding preparations. After Kendrick leaves, Charlie beams in excitement as she succeeds in her mission. She got flustered midway and could not speak properly, but this was not too bad. Besides, Kendrick's vow is the token of his promise. A kiss on the back of the hand from the Wolf land signifies a promise from the wolves that will never be broken no matter what. Now that Charlie has received the token of the promise, she does not need to worry about being abandoned. Even after the shedding season ends, Ethan escorts Charlie back to her room where the maid who took care of her on the first day waited for her. She introduces herself as her newly assigned personal maid, Betty. Charlie is a little surprised as she notices that the woman is a wolf, but there is almost no scent. Betty smiles, asking if she is thinking about how she can barely smell any wolf scent on her. Charlie turns surprised as she wondered how she had got to know this. Betty reveals how she is a hybrid of the Wolf and Eagle clan. Her grandmother was from the Eagle clan, so she was born with a mutation with fewer wolf traits compared to others. That is why certain characteristics like scent are weaker in her. Ethan reveals how Betty is the only Eagle clan hybrid in the estate. That is why the master of the household ordered Betty to be assigned as Charlie's personal maid. Thinking she would be more comfortable with it, Betty suggests reading her a fairy tale, but right now there is something more important than fairy tales. She asks Betty to show her around the mansion if she is going to live here and survive. It is important to learn the layout and know where to fly in case she needs to escape quickly. As Betty is about to show Charlie the dining room, they hear crashing noises from a nearby room. This makes Charlie wonder what that sound was. Charlie asks what is going on. Betty reveals how the young master is extremely ill and the room over there belongs to him. Charlie finds this strange as Rico seemed perfectly fine when she met him in the garden earlier. She contemplates checking on him before leaving, making puppy eyes at Betty. She says Rico is her friend and in pain, so she wants to see him. Betty immediately gives in. In all truth, Charlie had other plans when Rico is sick from his illness. She will show up with a tada and heal him. That way she can prove how necessary she is, and once Rico is healthy again, everyone in the mansion will be relieved. Her plan was to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. In the meantime, Rico refuses to eat and commands the staff to leave him alone, but his attention diverts as Charlie enters the room and waves at him. Riko, however, immediately hides under the blanket. It seems he is still a bit awkward with Charlie. In reality, Riko is embarrassed to have been caught throwing a tantrum. Charlie introduces herself and how she came to give Riko treatment. Riko flinches and asks if she is a spy or something. Betty politely advises Riko not to be so angry as Charlie is going to be his friend. Riko turns enraged and asks who said he wanted something like a friend. He commands them all to leave and hides under the blanket yet again. Charlie quietly observes and finds Riko's behavior odd. Riko doesn't give off the typical resistance one would expect from a wolf. The fact that he does not carry the characteristic wolf scent could mean two things. First, like Betty, he could be a hybrid due to a mutation, and second, it could mean he is in an extremely sick state. There is also the possibility that he is intentionally hiding his scent presence as Lord Kendrick does, but it does not seem like his abilities have manifested yet. She quickly pulls the blanket away from Riko. She notices how his face is red and he seems weak, so she is quite frail herself. Cole looks even weaker. She asks him if he does not want to take his medicine, making him feel embarrassed. Charlie knew it was the truth, as just looking at the deep gross color of the medicine there was no way he could eat that. She catches his attention by saying that he can avoid taking the medicine if she listens to her. She reminds him of how she healed his hand when he was hurt in the garden earlier. Therefore, she asked him to trust her this time, as she would make him better. Riko's eyes widened and he turned compliant. Everyone is born with a name. It is just that the time they awaken to how to use it differs. This applies to all people of the race, blessed by the gods with supernatural abilities. Each person expresses their abilities in separate ways. For example, Child's half-brother Gale manifested his abilities through a method of feeding them to others, while her father healed by unleashing his name all at once. However, Charlie is different from those brute methods. She inserted her abilities into the other person's body, targeting and controlling them. It is more efficient than what her family does in the world. Charlie could heal up to 4 people in a day as Charlie uses her powers on Riko the maids, and he watches in amazement. Riko's fever was subsiding during the process. Charlie was exhausted. She never had much trouble while treating a normal illness. She knows if she does not pull her hand away soon, it seems like not just her powers, but even her life force will be drained, but she knows she must heal Riko as she came to this mansion for that purpose. Riko advises her not to overdo it as her powers are pouring out like crazy now. Charlie refuses to do so, but collapses in the process, and to Riko's bewilderment, Charlie has transformed back into a bird. Charlie turns dejected and wonders why she became a beast person again. Riko asks if she is crying and why she is so small. This pisses Charlie, but Riko is too mesmerized by her fluffiness to bother. Soon the Wolf family's personal doctor makes his way into the room and checks on both children's condition. Charlie could smell a flowery aroma from the physician, making her deduce he was from the Deer clan. The Deer clan was not blessed by gods. It means they could not manifest a name, but even without special abilities, their medical skills were better than Renos. Despite Reno's proficiency in treatments using natural skills, the Deer clan were skilled in herbal medicine and various techniques. Living in harmony with nature, they knew plants perfectly and traded remedies made from their expertise with other clients. Charlie heard it takes over half a year on the waiting list just to buy one of the Deer clan's remedies for enormous quantities of money. Several tribes desired to employ them as their personal doctors, but Charlie knows they never once accepted such offers, and now she is lucky enough to see the Deer clan up close. She cannot believe she was assigned to this person, no less. She wonders how on earth they managed to hire someone like that. If there is another reason to seek out the Deer clan besides their herbal brews and medical skills, it is probably because of their unique powers. It is the Deer clan's eyes that can detect the flow of magic power. They use those eyes to determine the condition of others. As the physician checks Riko's condition, he mumbles how strange it is. To everyone's relief, he reveals how Riko's condition has improved significantly and his symptoms have eased. Ethan mentions how it is probably thanks to the young woman's supernatural talent. A maid enthusiastically reveals how the room was filled with a green breeze as a young lady released her power, and after that the young master's condition improved immediately. Charlie becomes embarrassed as everyone praises her. Hearing this, the physician asked how they managed to bring someone like this from Riro. He then examines Charlie. He then deduces that the young lady's ability was really the reason for the young master's improved condition. If This much progress was made with just one treatment. They might even hope for a full recovery. Charlie is relieved to hear this, as she did not know her power was this strong. Now she can heal Rico. However, the physician reveals that continuing this kind of treatment would be very risky. Everyone turns worried hearing this. Charlie wonders if her powers could have poisoned Rico, or did she fail despite using all the power she had to heal him. The physician's complexion turns dark, and he explains how Charlie just started transforming into a beast and is still quite young. No matter how strong her ability is, if she overuses it recklessly, it could cause harm to her body. Her flight feathers have not fully grown, and her body is still too small. He asked if it was not difficult for her to fly properly. Charlie knew he was right. Every time she tried to fly, the wind made her body sway. The physician reveals how her flow of power is unstable and her condition is worse than the young master's. Therefore, she should not push herself to use her abilities any further. If they assumed that the amount of power she used earlier was 100%, from now on it would be best to use only about 20%. The physician smiles as he looks at the little bird, thinking of how kind-hearted she is for helping Rico. He then turns to Rico and indirectly calls him out for sneaking into the garden and worsening his condition. He prescribes medicine for both children and excuses himself. Meanwhile, in the Rairo estate, Charlie's father Arthur was frustrated as he still could not find Charlie. They have mobilized all the knights and still cannot find a single bird. It has been 2 days since Charlie disappeared. The day she first went missing, her personal maid came to Arthur pale with fear. When he first heard she had disappeared, he was simply impressed by her talent and smiled. Most children only manage to transform after their first molting, but Charlie succeeded even though she still had 3 years before her first MT. This means her potential is limitless. He thinks that it would have been better if Charlie had been born a boy, as in the royal family only men can become heirs, but it does not matter if she becomes an eagle. After she turns 10, she can support her brother, who will become the family leader and lead the Reno clan. Reno's children's first transformation is into a small milky-colored form, but after molting they grow and transform into eagles. Occasionally there are failed candidates who do not become eagles, but considering Charlie's strong abilities, Arthur thinks that will not happen to her. As soon as Arthur received the report, he ordered the knights to search the entire area. He did not think she could have flown far in her newly transformed body. However, they were still unable to find the child. Arthur wonders if she could have been kidnapped in the forests, but he knew no one would dare to kidnap someone from the Reno clan, at least not in their territory. After all, she bears the family symbol, those milky-colored feathers. The only members of the bird clan who could use abilities were an object of envy and a source of fear. So even though Charlie is small, Arthur is certain no one would dare touch a bird with milky-colored feathers. Then, whereas Charlie disappeared too, his thoughts get disrupted as a maid enters the study and reveals how he has received a letter from her. Seeing the letter sealed in a familiar envelope with red wax, Charlie knew it was from that child. A few years ago, Arthur planted a spy to extract information from the Wolf clan. Aside from the latest news that the heir of the Wolf clan has fallen ill, they have not sent any useful information. He opens the letter only to be stunned by its contents. Kendrick has returned to the mansion with Lady Charlie, who seems unable to fully control her transformation due to her unstable powers. The spy then asks Lord Arthur if he sent the lady by any chance. He turns enraged and furious as he wonders why Charlie is in the Wolf clan's mansion. They knew there was no way she could have traveled that far by herself unless someone took her. This causes Arthur to wonder if it could be that day. Now that he thinks about it, the date Charlie went missing was 2 days ago, when Kendrick visited as well. Their timings overlap perfectly. He tears up the letter and orders the temple to be contacted immediately as they bring Charlie back. On the other hand, Charlie was enjoying her newly built bed. She wonders how Adele is doing on nights when sleep will not come. Charlie cannot help but get lost in thought among the things she left behind in the mansion. There was only one thing weighing on her mind. It was Adele. She regrets not telling a tale to run away too hard, but then she would have tried to stop her, and in that case, she would have to stay in the mansion. In Charlie's previous life, she was abandoned by her family after her first shedding, and Adele was also killed by her father. Charlie knew this was the best choice for them. In Charlie's previous life, she started shedding at the age of 9. Until then, she knows she will have to prove her worth by healing Rico as much as she can. To do that, she needs to focus On recovery right now, suddenly Charlie feels something on her stomach. She looked down and to her utter shock it was red fur. Charlie turns anxious and is unable to believe her eyes. Shedding usually begins around the age of 10 and that applies to any race. Charlie also finished her first shedding at 10 in her previous life, but this time her red fur grew fast. No matter how quickly she used her powers, the timing for shedding should not change. She begins to wail at her doomed misery. She has barely been here with the Wolf Clan, and already the cursed feathers are growing if she gets caught. Charlie fears being abandoned. She reminds herself of how Kendrick swore to protect her and that the clan likes. Rico is picky about having carrots in his meal, making children feel annoyed. She gestures to him to eat it. From what Charlie has observed of Rico lately, not only does he turn down carrots, but he also avoids all vegetables like green onions and only eats meat. They are probably letting him eat only what he likes to avoid causing him stress, but Charlie knows being a picky eater is the worst eating habit. Rico is already weak, and being fussy cannot be good for his health, but Rico refuses to eat it. Despite Charlie's insistence, she thinks he is becoming ill-tempered because they are being too lenient with him. Charlie ignores him and begins to eat her vegetables. The maids began to praise her excessively while Rico watched. Charlie wonders if he is being jealous because she was praised and decides to tease him a bit more. She begins to eat more of her vegetables, motivating Rico to eat his. This shocks the maids. Rico endures the taste and then boasts how Charlie is not the only one who can eat carrots, but this was not enough to impress Charlie. Determined, she picks up a tomato and begins to devour it. Seeing the maid's praise for Charlie again, Rico hesitatingly puts a piece of tomato in his mouth. This puts an idea in Charlie's head. From that day on, Rico competed with Charlie by copying everything she did. When she ate vegetables, Rico ate vegetables too. When she took a bath, he took a thorough bath as well. Charlie has only fixed a few unhealthy habits, but Rico looks so much healthier now. She remembers how her role was to heal Rico. Even if she could cure all his illnesses with her ability when she becomes an adult, if his body does not become completely healthy, it might be pointless. She needs to ensure, therefore, that is completely healthy before she leaves the mansion. As she ponders over the matter of leaving, another realization dawns on Charlie when she leaves Earth. Is she expected to leave barehanded? And so Charlie begins to thoroughly think over the situation. When people divorce, they typically receive an important compensation payment. Charlie is aware of it, but if she ends up marrying Rico, the wolves will have to pay a good amount of money to Riro. Despite having the payment from a divorce, that is either way a huge profit. Charlie can already picture Mr. Butler holding Lord Kendrick, so after the contract marriage ends, the money Charlie will get is probably nothing since they have already paid a huge price. They probably won't give Charlie anything more. She knew she needed to save up some emergency funds. In that case, if she starts saving bit by bit, from now she should have enough. When she divorces, she needs to look for a secure hiding place for her emergency supplies. But the maids clean every nook and cranny of her room every day, so there is no place to hide it there. She remembers how Betty told her that there were lots of empty rooms on the second floor of the mansion, so Charlie begins by exploring the second floor. She needs to search for a room in the back where nobody goes. She is sure she will find a good spot to hide her funds there. However, she is unable to find as many hiding spots as she thought. She goes further in and comes across the reception room on the second floor. She was told this place was not being used, but she heard voices coming from inside. She sits on the door handle and tries to hear who is inside. To her surprise, she recognized as one voice as Lord Kendrick. He was angry. The other voice explained how they had no choice in the matter and Riro had directly requested an adjustment, so they could not ignore it. Seeing how Riro is involved, Charlie turns flustered. Kendrick asserts that Charlie was not brought here by force, but came of her own free will. The other voice assures Kendrick that they believe him, but since Ronadu has made an official request, they have no choice but to verify. Hearing Kendrick mention the Temple of Nut, Charlie is taken aback. The temple is dedicated to the god of Nut and oversees 9 relics. The temple only intervenes when something goes wrong with the shrine itself or when the safety of the sacred relics is threatened. It seems Riro asked for the Temple of Meditation, and Charlie wonders if it could be her father's doing. The other voice reveals how the temple cannot approve of an arranged marriage without Reno's consent. Therefore, Kendrick will have to return their child. Charlie turns shocked. It seems that her Father is desperate to get her back now, but as time passes and they fall into the same old routines, he will end up abandoning her again. This time it might even happen as soon as she returns, just like in her past life, because she has already started shedding. At that moment, she transforms back into a human. Hearing the commotion outside, Kendrick opens the door and finds a bewildered Charlie on the floor. Kendrick is surprised to see how Dale's transformation has worn off and asks what she is doing here to pitch. Charlie awkwardly chuckles. She apologizes, saying she was simply passing by. The priest beside Kendrick remarks how she is the baby bird from the Rairo family. He introduces himself as a Tran. His cold presence intimidates Charlie, and she hides behind Kendrick, barely greeting the man. Kendrick asserts to ATR that he doesn't need to introduce himself as they won't be seeing each other again. He then asks him to leave. Atron turns to Charlie and asks what she is doing here. Kendrick swiftly picks Charlie up and protectively tells Atron to back off. He leaves with Charlie asserting that he will not attend the temple as he carries her away. Charlie feels a bit odd since they have not met in a long time, as she was in her beast form. Hearing that she has just transformed, Kendrick suggests calling the doctor and getting her examined. Charlie agrees and internally wonders why he did not ask why she was eavesdropping. She apologizes and Kendrick says he wants to know how much she heard. She says she heard the part that he needs to send her back. Kendrick sighs and says they will talk about it after she has had rest. Kendrick brings her back to her room, where Betty tearfully reunites with Charlie after changing her into her pajamas. Betty says she will call the doctor. She then asks Charlie why she went to the reception room. Charlie hesitatingly babbles about how she is going for a walk but gets lost. Fortunately, Betty believed her. Charlie smiles, realizing how kind Betty is. Perhaps her goal is to make sure that she will not get lost again. Her thoughts get disrupted as Rico makes his way, and he is surprised to see how she has reverted from her beast form. He turns flustered as he sees her. In the meantime, Betty leaves to fetch the doctor. Rico asks how she revered from her breast form, and Charlie says it just kind of happened as Rico stares curiously at her. She asks if he does not like it when he is not in her beast form. Rico turns defensive and asks who said that. He blushes profusely as he tries to create a coherent sentence, but he then turns away, calling her ugly, and remarks that she looks much better than her beast form. This shocks Charlie, as she thought they were finally getting closer. They say kids become friends quickly, but it seems it is a lie. This is way too hard. On the other hand, Rico tries to calm himself. The family physician, Dr. Hearn, soon arrives. She excitedly runs toward him, but loses her balance before she can fall. Dr. Hearn grabs her and tells her to be careful. Charlie thanks him and turns her attention towards her legs. She knew something was off, as it felt like these were not even her legs, but it was odd considering she was not injured. The doctor asks if it is hard for her to move her body right now. He explains how staying in your past form for too long can make it difficult to adjust to your human form. That is why she must be careful not to stay in the beast form for too long. He then checks her condition. He advises her to avoid overexerting herself, as her ability is still unstable right now. If she does not push herself too much using her ability, she will be fine for now. This makes Charlie wonder about something. Reiko asks what's wrong, and Charlie reveals how she cannot heal him if she cannot use her ability. Unfortunately, Rico has not shown any symptoms since last time. But since he is not cured yet, Charlie does not know when he will get sick again, and now she has been told not to overuse her ability. Rico sighs and says if that is the case, then she does not need to worry. He says he is not bothered by the pain anymore, and if she pushes herself, she will turn into a bird again, which would be troublesome, so he tells her not to worry about her. Charlie turns surprised and then asks if he did not say he preferred her in her beast form. Rico turns shy and argues that he never said that. As they childishly argue, the doctor tries hard not to laugh in the end. Rico flees the room feeling embarrassed. Carr laughs and remarks that the young master really seems to care about Charlie. The scene shifts to Charlie waking up from her nap at night feeling hot. Charlie opens the balcony window and takes in the fresh breeze of air. She smiles as she ponders over today's events. Rico was kind, saying he could tolerate the pain until her body recovered. Betty and Dr. Hearn were so gentle and comforting. She smiles at her luck for encountering such nice people. As she tries to use her ability, it begins to strengthen even more. Charlie was in the same state as when she first awakened her ability in her past life, before she learned how to control and use it, but it feels even bigger and more violent than back then. She knew it was bad and needed to get this unstable ability under control. To treat Riko, she must treat him, so she does not have to go back to Rairo. She reached Kendrick's study, who is surprised to see her. She then expresses how she has something to tell him and a favor to ask. She wants him to teach her how to use her abilities. Kendrick asks how she has been managing it until now. Charlie explains how she made it as thin as a thread so it could fit in her body and reach every spot. Kendrick says it is time for her to re-examine the control method. He unleashes his own ability as a demonstration. Charlie knew Art's ability was the shadow. They can freely manipulate shadows. Their power can be used for exploration, concealment, and protection because it can be freely transformed. It is an incredible ability that can be used in many ways. To think she would see it with her own eyes, and an ability she has only heard about, is overwhelming. Kendrick tells Charlie to assume that this is her ability. He explains how someone with a strong ability like her keeps making it into a thin thread, then the ability grows excessively and overflows. Therefore, she cannot control it correctly. Therefore, she needs to learn from the beginning. He promises to teach her himself as he does not trust leaving her in someone else's hands. Charlie thanks him and is glad she decided to talk to him. If she can properly control her ability, she should be able to treat Riko without any issues. Kendrick then suggests having a serious talk. He kneels and smiles, saying he owes her an apology. With this, the video ends. Why do you believe Kendrick owes Charlie an apology? Will he allow her to leave for Reno, or will he stand by his original decision? Can Charlie truly break free from the tragedy of her past life and begin again? Most importantly, who is the spy that Arthur Raniero planted in the Heart mansion? Stay tuned for more updates.